Number 1. My grandmother lives in a retirement village. She had this skinny little black cat. It was really ugly, but also the dearest little thing. She had this crooked tail, and it was always pointed up. She never skulked. Well, one day she had to be put down. She was old. The retirement village didn't allow you to get another pet once the one you brought with you died. So obviously, my grandma was quite depressed. She loved that little cat. A couple of weeks later, I came to move some things around. It was hot. I went to the kitchen to get a soda. I stood in the door frame, talking to my grandmother. From where I was standing, I could see the open front door easily. I was talking, and then I tilted my head back to drink from the soda can. As I did, I saw a black cat with a crooked tail trot out of the front door. I know that cat anywhere. I quickly looked down in surprise, but it vanished. I grinned to myself. I didn't tell my grandmother because that stuff freaks her out. She doesn't know it, but she isn't as alone as she thinks she is. That little cat is still keeping her company, even if she can't see her. She's there. Number 2. Years ago, I started living with some friends. Almost tripped over their cat a few times, forgetting every time that they didn't have an indoor cat. Fucking ghost cat. I was later warned that I would eventually be woken up by a ghost cat walking on me. I was excited about it, but I eventually forgot about it. 6-ish months later, and I wake up to a cat walking on me. Again, no indoor cats lived there. It started around my knees and disappeared by the time it got near my chest. I was expecting the full weight of a cat, but it felt light. I told this individually to the friends later, and they confirmed that that was the usual experience. I also saw what I can only describe as a ghost of a lady once. It was completely random and not shocking or scary like I would think. It was more like, there's a ghost. Also, I would often hear what sounded like a party going on in the house with music playing and people chatting and moving about. Sometimes I just hear music playing when there certainly wasn't any. Number 3. After my cat of 10 years died in December, I would hear him meowing. Usually, I could just pass it off as thinking too much about him. We used to have a thing where we'd talk back and forth to each other. He'd meow and I'd call back, "Clyde!" He'd call again. I'd say, "Clyde!" Then he'd run up to me and we'd cuddle. One day, I walked outside and I heard him, as if he were sitting 10 feet away. Following right after, I heard my own voice calling from afar. The meow and my voice repeated a few times more. It was extremely nerve-wracking. When it stopped, I just turned around and went back inside. I don't hear him meowing much anymore. Number 4. When I was 6 years old, I had a cat named Buster. Buster was actually my stepdad's cat, but because I never had a cat before, I claimed him as my own. Buster didn't like being hugged and coddled all the time by a little child, so he hated me. He avoided me at all costs. He was also an outdoor cat, so he would often spend most days outside, then come in for the night. One night, Buster didn't come back into the house. We usually fed him at night, so I was worried. Our area was also well known for an abundance of coyotes. My parents were being a bit hush-hush about Buster's disappearance, but I didn't get the hint. That night, when I was drifting off to sleep, Buster jumped onto my bed. He laid down by my head and let me pet him until I fell asleep. Honestly, I was shocked because he had never done this before. The next morning, I triumphantly walked downstairs and related to my parents that Buster now loved me because he slept in my bed during the night. My parents looked at me inquisitively and sat me down at the breakfast table to let me know, while they were outside the night before, they had found Buster's body in the alley behind our house. They thought he might have been harassed by a coyote, but he was dead, so he couldn't have slept in my bed that night. To this day, I like to think that Buster just wanted to say goodbye and thank me for trying to love him in the only way a child knew how.